But that studio in the Back Bay in Newport, is it just for you, or so you don't bring bands to that
Not
studio?
a full band. It's not set up quite that way, although I could. But usually, remember I said how most bands it's like a guy, and then so the guy meets me there, and we talk about, hey, let's edit the vocals, or let's pitch shift to this, or let's bring the guitars up a little bit, so we can do adjustments to the finished product. So I'll usually get all 90% of the work done by myself, and then if they need to or want to, then they'll come by, and then we'll work together for a couple hours. And so that is what sort of saved me throughout that period, because people weren't coming here as often. Now they're coming back, but for those couple of years, I was able to work remotely. In some cases, I was doing projects where I didn't even get to meet the band. I would do the work electronically, they would pay electronically, and move on to the next one. So that was just, but I was going to do it anyways. It just worked out well in those specific circumstances.
When you listen to a band, or just if someone gives you like a recording of something, what are you listening for? I've always wondered that about you as a guy who works in music for his life.
It's no different than what we talked about earlier, Evan. When you read a good book, when you watch a good film, you see a good piece of art or a sculpture, something moves you, or it doesn't. And so obviously, when you hear a piece of music, you either feel something, you feel a connection. And again, when I reference how I always have that 2-hour face-to-face sit-down with the artist before we ever consider booking any time, when I'm listening to the music, I'm seeing if there is a connection. So even if it's something sonically that might not be in my comfort zone, if I feel something maybe rhythmically or in the chord structure or the melodic nature of the song or the tunes, or maybe just how they approach it, if they approach it from a real genuine place of passion, then that will move me. Their passion will connect with me. So that's what I'm looking for, is to be moved. It's easy peasy.
Now you did stuff with Jack Brewer?
Yes. Jack Brewer, that's right. Oh yeah, Jack. Jack was a character. So, okay, there was a scene in Long Beach that was centered around, help me out here, Evan, what was it called?
Is it like, because I always think of them as San Pedro people.
Well, okay, I'm saying, South Bay, Long Beach, okay.
Yeah.
But there was a club.
The Quesera, not the case.
No. There was a small version called the Bohemian Lounge or something. But the big room where the Cadillac Tramps and all those bands used to headline.
Wasn't the Toe Jam, no.
It doesn't matter.
Fenders.
Okay, I'm just pointing out. When you would go see the Jack Brewer band live, man, he had the costume and the crazy, day-glow outfits, and he'd go do his poetry jam, and then they would break into a song, and the guy commanded the stage. He had stage presence up to here. Wow, what a performer. Then you meet the guy. And this happens over and over and over again. So this is not a critique, it's merely an observation. Off stage, he was the shyest, similar to Greg, very, very quiet spoken, had a slight stammer. Well, hello, nice to meet you. And very, very inward. And I think it was Jack. So I hope I don't conflate this. I'm pretty sure this was Jack. When he came in, because he was also Saccharine Trust, right?
Yes.
So Jack Brewer Band and Saccharine Trust. Same
right.
guy.
Yes. Yeah. I've always been, because there was another guy, Chris Stein. There were all these.
Yeah. So I think I got the story straight here.
Yeah.
So Jack was so shy that when he came in to do vocals, normally we'd have the vocals out in the big room, by himself. And it's quite normal, it's quite common that vocalists say, yeah, can you kick everybody out of the room? So, okay, that's fine. So it would be just, me and the singer, or maybe the record label guy, or maybe one key member of the band, but, the girlfriends and the hangers-on and the guitar player, and we had the lounge up front, so they would get booted off into the lounge. So that was normal. But in Jack's case, he's like, make sure all the lights are out. So that's normal. Okay, lights are out. Can you build a little, some walls around me? And, well, we had some gobos, so okay, we built some walls. Still, can you put some blanket? Okay, we'll put some blankets over, And then finally, he turns to Mike Rosas, because I remember Mike Rosas was there that day, who was, being the engineer. He was, running the tape machine. And then he looks at Mike, he goes, does Mike have to be here? I go, well, he's the engineer. You gotta have an engineer, running the tape deck for you. So that's how shy he was. But I only bring that up to illustrate the disparity in personality types, how so many artists, once they hit that stage, they're a different personality. I grew up with theater people. My grandfather made films for decades. All his best friends were from the theater and the movie business. And so people would often confuse their movie characters as that's who they were.
Right.
When in fact, off stage, these were very humble, very different people than what you would see on the screen. So I grew up with that. And I was used to that dichotomy with performers, and so it was easy for me to adjust to that when I came into the music world. But still, Jack was sort of a prime example of the difference between what his stage persona was and how he was off stage. And once you got to know him and sat down like you and I, he was great fun. He was very literate and very sort of erudite and well read, and his poetry was awesome. So a true, to me, creative genius. But that's what really stood out to me initially, was just that differential. Speaking of, kind of to build upon that, Mike from Cadillac Tramps. So this is a different twist on a similar subject. He was very shy in the studio, and like Jack, though, a terrific performer, one of the best frontmen we've ever seen, period. But in the studio, he had insecurities, and so we were recording the first record probably, and by the way, it was recorded naked. Just a quick little fun fact for y'all. Well, socks. They had strategically placed socks. Let's put it like that.
Gotcha.
But anyways, so the band's, great band, Johnny and Brian and Jamie. Mike was doing his vocals live in the room. In fact, he had a funny thing. There's no air conditioning in the vocal booth. So poor guy was sweating up a storm in there, man, because it gets hot pretty fast. And you're singing, it's a lot of energy. And at one point between songs, he's like, man, nothing like doing vocals and losing 20 pounds at the same time. So, but anyways, I could tell that singing was a struggle for him, because you're trying to hit the pitch, and you're standing there and you're trying to get the song melodically, and he was a performer more than a singer. I don't think that's, again, a critique as much as an observation. And I remember struggling with that, going, man, I gotta help find a way to make it easier for him in the studio. So one night they were playing this place that I can't remember the name of in Long Beach, where he used to headline all the time, just off PCH. Again, he's got his shades on, he's got the mic stand, and he's in his stance, and he's just commanding the crowd. And now, so that's right. So that hit me that night. Oh, that's it. So after the show, I walked up, hey, Mike, what are you doing after the gig, man? He goes, not much. I go, hey, let's come down before the record, let's knock out a couple vocals. It was like 1 or 2 in the morning, but he didn't have anything else to do. Sure. So he follows me back. And normally what he would do, like most singers, you put on the headphones, you got the suspended microphone, you got to, stand on the spot and not move. And I thought, no. So I said, Mike, here, grab this stand. Where's your shades? And I put your shades on and, move around, man. Don't be locked into one spot. And I gave him kind of a stage style microphone to sing into, and he came alive. And most of his best vocals, like on the song called Don't Go, whatever the intro song was, I can't remember the name now, Hoodoo Voodoo or something, those all came from that session when he was able to sort of get into a stage persona and not think that he's in a studio and loosen up. And so sometimes you got to find what little buttons to pick with people. But again, it just showcases, again, the difference between being on stage and being off, 2 different personalities.